Snark Squad. Babes, it is Sunday evening. And babes, the TLC gods, they just continue to bless us with all this mess. Cheers to drama, to chaos, and to delusion.
The evening is young, the drama is old. And babes, we are here. The wine is poured, and we are so ready. Cheers to you, Snark Squad. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Seriously, love you guys.
We do. But babes, we need a favor. Share this show with a friend. Rate us, review us. Because babes, we do this for you.
We really do. And honestly, before we even get into the absolute wreckage on our screens tonight, can we just take a minute to discuss what we did this weekend? Because, babes, we did something wholesome.
Shockingly wholesome.
Right. We went to a park cleanup.
Which I am still, honestly, recovering from mentally. I mean, we woke up before noon on a Saturday.
Why-do?
And we put on, clothes that weren't just our brunch sweatpants. We actually went outside to pick up other people's garbage.
It was wild. I mean, picture this. We're literally just sitting on the couch, right? Scrolling Facebook, just rotting away, looking at memes. Exactly. And we stumble upon this random local community group, like a call to arms for the neighborhood park. And I don't know, I looked over at you fully possessed by some sort of manic weekend productivity demon. And I was just like, why not?
You did. You literally said, let's give back to the earth. And I didn't even know why I agreed.
But we actually went, babes, we feel like goddamn heroes right now.
Okay, let's ground this in reality for everyone listening. We picked up trash for, maybe 2 hours?
It was a very intense 2 hours.
We didn't solve climate change.
Yeah.
But, I was slightly shocked that we committed, because normally we just talk about doing charitable things after 3 glasses of wine on a Friday, set an alarm, and then aggressively snooze it.
But we showed up this time. We had the thick rubber gloves. We had this little grabber tool.
Oh my God, the grabber tools.
Those things give me so much power. I felt like an apex predator of sanitation, snapping up candy wrappers. But the vibes were it was pure chaos.
It really was. Because, there's a very specific social ecosystem at a weekend park cleanup.
Oh, totally.
You have these hardcore, intense park enthusiasts who show up in tactical gear, cargo pants with carabiners, hiking boots.
Headlamps. The sun was fully out.
Exactly. And then there was us, just trying not to step in the mud while gossiping about reality TV.
I was wearing my vintage white sneakers, which was a catastrophic mistake. Oh, wait, we have to talk about the fines. Because, yes, it was mostly trash. Pure, sad trash.
Damp wrappers, rusted cans.
Just gross stuff. I found a ring.
You found a piece of oxidized metal in the dirt.
We found a ring. Babes, you have to picture the lighting of this moment. It was nestled in the mud, half buried under these wet leaves, catching the morning sunlight like some beacon of forgotten love.
Oh, here we go.
I practically fell to my knees. It looked so vintage. It has this tarnished, intricately detailed silver-toned band with a clear stone right in the center. I'm telling you, it could be a diamond.
It is glass. Or maybe hard plastic.
You don't know that. My immediate thought was, is this the lost heirloom of some wealthy heiress from 1922? Did she have this tragic, forbidden romance by the lake and she threw it into the bushes after a screaming match before boarding a train to a new life?
Or, and just hear me out on this, is it from a plastic gumball machine outside of a dying wall in 2014?
Oh, you're actively ruining my fantasy.
I'm just introducing logic. The intricate filigree you're talking about is literally molded plastic painted with a metallic finish. It started turning your finger a toxic shade of green on the car ride home.
I am romanticizing this story. Just let me have it. Someone threw it into the bushes for a reason. Think of the drama, the dramatic exit. It's giving main character energy.
I'm just saying, if we take it to a jeweler, prepare to owe them money just for wasting their time.
I don't care. I'm keeping the mystery alive. But it brings up a serious question, is this how people get into metal detecting?
Oh, boy.
Because, babes, this feels like our origin story. I am already picturing us with the giant headphones, sweeping the beaches at dawn. We could be treasure hunters.
Let's assess our actual commitment level to physical hobbies, because it is exceptionally low. We complained about our lower backs hurting after 20 minutes of using a lightweight plastic grabber.
That was a repetitive motion injury.
You think we're going to haul 10 pounds of metal detecting equipment through wet sand at 6 in the morning? The delusion is so strong you're going to find rusted bottle caps, not pirate gold.
When I unearth a literal Spanish doubloon, you are not getting a single cut. But wait, that's not all. The productivity didn't stop there. Babes, we also made it to Pilates this morning.
We did, unfortunately.
Which means 6 times in 2 weeks. Are we fitness baddies now?
If wincing audibly every time we sit down on the couch makes us elite athletes, then yes, We are Olympians.
I am fully claiming it. I bought the sage green sets. I bought the little grip socks with the silicone toes. My core is literally trembling right now, but my spirit is soaring.
Okay, let's fact check our stamina before we start selling workout plans to the audience. Because during that final plank sequence, I looked over at your mat.
I was modifying.
You were lying completely flat on your stomach, staring at the ceiling, silently mouthing the word help. We are surviving, not dominating. We pay $40 to be publicly humbled by a former gymnast.
Showing up is 80% of the battle. I'm counting it as a massive victory. But okay, enough about our wholesome, athletic, treasure-hunting weekend. Let's pour more wine.
Yes, please.
Because we need to officially kick off this recap. We need to get into the absolute emotional wreckage of Season 8, Episode 18, Emergency Exit.
It was a bloodbath.
It really was. And I want to start with the absolute queen of the episode, the only woman carrying this entire franchise on her back, Trisha, and the absolute trash bag she is dealing with, Rick.
We have to map out the sheer audacity of this man. Let's set the scene. They are at the Madagascar airport.
The airport.
Yes. Trisha is standing there, rightfully demanding answers, because she just caught Rick texting his ex. And not just some random high school ex, the ex he met in Colombia, the ex he has already cheated with previously.
I was screaming. I was physically yelling at my TV because he doesn't even try to hide it. He literally confesses on camera that he responded inappropriately to her.
It was so blatant.
He told this Colombian ex that some of the most beautiful times of his life were with her. Babes. He said this right after promising Trisha's family that he would have a child with her.
The whiplash is actually terrifying.
Do you understand? He sat in her family's home, looked her parents in the eyes, promised them a grandchild, a legacy, and then hours later he's texting his ex about their beautiful times together. I am unwell.
Let's break down the psychological mechanics of what Rick is doing here, because this is a masterclass in narcissistic manipulation. Trisha asks him for the most basic, bare minimum boundary. Just block the ex's number.
Just press a button.
Right, it's a binary test.
Right.
Block the woman you cheated with. And Rick refuses. He flat out refuses. And instead of apologizing, he drops this ultimate verbal grenade. He looks at Trisha and says, I'm in love with you, but I do still have feelings for her too.
The disrespect. The absolute unmitigated gall. If a man ever looked me in the eyes and said that, I would spontaneously combust right there in the terminal.
Same. But Trisha, our icon, she drops the mic.
She does.
She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She just looks at this whimpering man-child and says, no, you don't love me. She tells him he made his choice, and she leaves his ass right there at the airport.
It was beautiful. But wait, we have to talk about Rick's pathetic attempt to justify it in his confessional, because this is what makes me so sick. He tries to tell the producers, I don't look at it as I chose my ex over her, and then he drops the worst line ever, love isn't so black and white.
Oh, let me shred that underlying mechanism right now. Yes, human emotions are complex, but commitment, loyalty, fidelity, those are incredibly black and white.
Exactly. You are either cheating or you're not.
Precisely. When a manipulator says love isn't black and white, it's not because they are deep thinkers. It's an evasion tactic. He's intellectualizing his cheating to force Trisha into a philosophical debate rather than focusing on his specific, concrete actions.
It's a total smokescreen.
Exactly. When you refuse to block the person you cheated with, you are making a definitive, high-contrast, black and white choice. You are choosing your ego and your backup plan over the woman standing in front of you.
He just wanted her to feel like she was being too rigid, like she was too simple-minded to understand his profound emotional depth. The internet went completely feral over this.
As they should.
One Reddit user called him the worst man to have been on this show. And let me tell you, that is a highly competitive category. We have seen some monsters. But Rick's fake crying, the whimpering with zero actual tears. Nauseating.
My favorite piece of Reddit commentary was the person who called her a splash pad. It perfectly encapsulates his emotional depth.
Wait, a splash pad? That is brilliant.
Think about it. A splash pad is shallow, it's publicly accessible, and ultimately, it's just a place where toddlers go to pee. That is Rick. He has no deep waters.
I am dead, a splash pad.
And he tries to play the victim, claiming his ex is the only person he can really count on. You're in Madagascar, trying to build a life with a woman whose family just welcomed you, and you're claiming your ex is your only support system. The math is completely bankrupt.
He just wanted a pity party. He wanted Trisha to comfort him for getting caught. But she saved herself a decade of stress wrinkles by walking away. Which brings up a serious question for us to debate. Is anyone on this entire cast actually likable outside of Trish?
Honestly, if we look at the metrics of this season, Trisha is sitting alone at the top. Every other person is either manipulative, delusional, or actively self-sabotaging. Trisha recognized the pattern, updated her hypothesis, and exited the experiment.
She carried the whole season. Because speaking of people who desperately need an emergency exit, let's pivot to the next disaster. Jovan and Annalyn, oh my God, the red pill reality check.
We have to unpack the history here because it informs everything.
Yeah.
They got married on a Zoom call 3 years ago during the pandemic.
Which is wild.
Right, it was a bureaucratic move to get him a visa. But now they are finally meeting in person 3 years later to renew their vows.
And we immediately smash into a giant neon radioactive red flag, like within 5 minutes. Annalyn is deeply concerned, and honestly, I am scared for her because she reveals that Jovan watches masculinity podcasts.
Oh, the alpha male podcast industrial complex.
Babes, I went in on my couch, I was yelling. We all know exactly the kind of dumb, red pill, manosphere bullshit podcast she is talking about.
It's toxic. Let's break down what these podcasts actually do. It's a grift that is actively poisonous to relationships. 4 men sitting around a table with LED lights, wearing sunglasses indoors, yelling into microphones about how women hit a wall at 25.
It is disgusting. Annalyn explicitly says these podcasts encourage cheating. They teach that it's biologically acceptable for a man to step out on his wife as long as he provides.
It completely commodifies the relationship. It reduces a woman to an appliance. It pushes this 1950s transactional dynamic, but wrapped in modern internet hustle culture. It tells men that their fidelity can be bought with grocery money.
I would have unplugged the router. I would have taken his phone and thrown it into the ocean. How can you look at a man who consumes this garbage and think, yes, this is my soulmate?
It invalidates mutual respect entirely.
Yeah.
If your partner views your relationship as a financial transaction where loyalty is optional, you don't have a marriage, you have an employment contract.
The disrespect of him making her wait 3 years to even touch him while he's brainwashing himself with this stuff. But then we get to the actual wedding day.
The vow renewal.
Right. And Annalyn is so disappointed by his cold demeanor all morning. He's acting like it's a trip to the DMV. He didn't even want to write vows.
He was complaining to the cameras about having to talk about his feelings.
But then, at the altar, he actually delivers sincere vows. He says he'll protect her, he'll put up with her sassiness, and then he reaches into his pocket and surprises her with a ring. And babes, she completely melted. All the anger about the podcasts just evaporated.
Are you seriously defending this?
No, but I'm just saying it was a moment.
Let me logically point this out. The bar is literally in the Earth's crust. It is melted into the planetary core. He brought a ring, which is a fundamental requirement for a wedding, and she acted like he invented cold fusion.
I know. I spiraled over it. I was yelling at her not to fall for it.
A shiny piece of metal does not erase fundamental trust issues. It doesn't unbrainwash him from thousands of hours of manosphere conditioning.
The delusion of thinking jewelry fixes deep ideological differences. I mean, you know I love a sparkly ring, obviously, but you cannot let a diamond blind you to the fact that your husband thinks cheating is fine if he pays the light bill.
It's what I call the distraction grenade tactic. The foundation is rotting, so he throws a shiny object into the room to redirect her attention. It forces her to feel grateful for the bare minimum.
Ooh, it's so dark. Speaking of people who demand gratitude while providing emotional wreckage, let's transition to Elise and Joshua, the waterfall meltdown.
I cannot with Elise.
My blood pressure spikes. So they're in Australia, and she wants to be the cool, adventurous girlfriend. She books an excursion called abseiling, but she literally admits on camera that she heard the word sailing and thought it had something to do with relaxing on a boat.
She booked a hardcore adventure sport and didn't even run a basic Google search.
Abes. For anyone who doesn't know, abseiling is rappelling down a sheer rock face through a freezing waterfall.
The Reddit wrath on this was surgical. She did zero research. She shows up in a skimpy outfit meant for a beach club, and then complains relentlessly that she's freezing.
She was shaping like a chihuahua, demanding hand warmers from the guides. And then they go to a restaurant, and she makes the wait staff bring her a literal restaurant blanket.
In the Australian wilderness.
Who does that? And the dramatics during the descent, screaming, crying, and then she looks at the camera and says, I literally almost died today. Babes, you were on a highly supervised, heavily insured tourist excursion. You got damp. You didn't almost die.
The hyperbole is a specific psychological defense mechanism. It's terminal main character syndrome. She uses exaggerated victimhood to center herself in every narrative, forcing Josh to comfort her and erasing her own mistake.
It's exhausting. And what about the Reddit comments pointing out her weird sexual stories, like randomly dropping that she had sex with her ex while he was flying a plane?
Completely unprompted.
Who brings that up to their current partner? It's so pick-me. And the way she constantly sticks her fingers in her mouth like a toddler when she's stressed.
It's an infantilization tactic, a performance of helpless innocence, so people will rush in to save her. But we have to balance the scales. Because Josh is no saint.
He's awful.
He is matching her dysfunction perfectly. They're at this scenic lookout, and he drops a tactical emotional bomb. He tells her she won't be meeting his son on this trip.
Which, like, fine. The baby mama has boundaries. That's the only healthy behavior on the show.
Exactly. Protecting a child from reality TV production is rational. But Josh's delivery is so toxic. Elise is upset because he previously promised this. She feels like he isn't fighting for her. And instead of reassuring her, he looks at her with these dead eyes and says he wouldn't blame her if she walked away.
The biggest slap in the face. I wouldn't blame you. That means you are entirely disposable to me and I don't care enough to stop you.
But then, the whiplash. Immediately after telling her she can leave, he pivots and drops the L-bomb. He tells this crying woman, "I'm in love with you," for the very first time.
It is surgical emotional manipulation.
Think about the sequence. He creates a massive emotional deficit, plunging her into abandonment panic. Then, to rescue her from the panic he induced, he deploys, "I love you."
It's an emotional Band-Aid.
It short-circuits her anger. It distracts her from the fact that he won't fight for her to meet his kid, forcing her to be overwhelmingly grateful instead of furious.
It's like pushing someone into freezing water and demanding they thank you for tossing a life preserver. I hate him. Elise is an exhausting pick-me, but Josh is playing incredibly dangerous mind games to keep her off balance.
He's maintaining control through destabilization. And speaking of keeping people trapped and destabilized, let's seamlessly transition to Forrest, Sheena, and Molly, the ultimate final boss boy mom.
I am literally crying real tears for Sheena. Let's set the stage for this absolute tragedy. Forrest tells his mom, Molly, that he wants to stay in the Philippines with Sheena. He wants to be a man and build a life, and Molly absolutely explodes.
She initiates a highly calculated tactical takedown. She lists the brutal financial maths, and as someone who values data, her numbers were accurate. But her delivery was demonic.
Right. She points out Sheena makes $500 a month. Rent is $400. That leaves $100 for food, medical care, and everything else for 2 adults.
But she didn't just present a spreadsheet.
No. She weaponized his literal neurological makeup. She weaponized his autism and disability against him. She told him he was living on daydreams. She demanded he return to the U.S., get a government rehab job, and maybe apply for the K-1 visa in the future. She spoke to him like a naive toddler.
Which is the defining hallmark of a toxic, enmeshed parent. The Reddit consensus is terrified of her. She is the scariest boy mom on the network. She uses his disability as a leash. When he showed independence, she crushed it with financial fear-mongering.
And it worked. Forrest instantly folded. He collapsed inward and told Sheena he had to go back. You could see Sheena's heart physically break on camera. She felt so manipulated. It's not about the visa process. It's about Molly maintaining iron-fisted control over his life.
But we have to debate the reality here. Let's look at the K-1 visa. It's not just buying a plane ticket. The American citizen signs an affidavit of support, legally responsible for up to 10 years so they don't rely on government assistance.
Which Forrest can't do because he's unemployed and on disability.
Exactly. Molly knows she would likely have to be the financial co-sponsor. So, was Molly logically right to inject reality even if her delivery was evil? The reality of living on $100 a month with medical needs is incredibly bleak.
I hate that you're right about the math. But you don't destroy your child's dreams by mocking them. You make a plan as a loving parent. You say, let's look at remote work. Let's build a timeline. You don't say you're relying on a magical miracle job. It wasn't about protecting him from poverty. It was about isolating him to win his obedience.
I agree. The intent was control. Which brings us to another masterpiece of manipulation. Aviva and Stig, the bait and switch.
Babes, I was screaming at the television. So they are in Belize. They've spent the whole trip, and presumably months before, planning for Aviva to move to Belize. She loves the culture, the beach. It's the foundation of their relationship.
And then the trap is sprung. It is literally 2 hours before Aviva leaves for the airport to fly back to the U.S. The taxi is basically idling.
2 hours.
And Stig casually mentions, oh, by the way, I want to move to the U.S., and not Arizona, where she has a life and a home.
Yay.
He wants to move to Houston, Texas, to make American money for his dancehall artist career.
The audacity. You waited until she was folding her shirts and looking for her phone charger to upend the entire premise of your relationship. I spiraled over this. How do you process that while stressing about a flight connection?
You don't. That's the point. This is a classic bait-and-switch scam. Imagine signing a contract for a beachfront condo and the realtor hands you keys to a condemned shed in Houston and says you're paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
Stig is using her for a green card. Transparently. He wants to network with music producers in Texas. He secured the engagement, locked her in with the emotional high, and dropped the catastrophic reality when she didn't have the bandwidth to fight. It's a hostage situation to the heart.
And Aviva's delusion.
Yeah.
She's ignoring this blaring tornado siren of a red flag because she's so desperate to be a bride. She literally said, I have a ring on my finger, I'm engaged.
Yeah.
Babes, he wants you to be his sugar mama and fund his fake dance hall life in Texas. Wake up.
She is blinded by the social status of being a fiancé. But speaking of tragic status plays, let's wrap up the recap with Laura and Birkan, the fake love triangle.
Oh my God, the cringe. Full body cringe. So Laura hid that she hit on her best friend, Mikal. Birkan found out, and to punish her, he made her stay in a hotel.
He justified it by saying her pride doesn't cuddle her at night. It's punitive isolation, treating her like a disobedient child being sent to a room that costs $150 a night.
But then Laura comes back with this sweeping ultimatum. She offers to completely cut Michelle out of her life to save the relationship, acting like it's a tragic romance novel sacrifice.
She's attempting a psychological tactic called triangulation, bringing a third party in to artificially inflate her perceived value. She wants Birkan to feel jealous and fight for her.
But Birkan completely deflates her. He surprisingly says no. He claims Michelle proved he's a good guy, but just demands strict boundaries.
It was amazing.
We were laughing so hard. Laura is trying to manufacture this epic Twilight-level love triangle between two bottom-of-the-barrel men. Neither is worth giving up a morning coffee for, let alone a best friend. She wants them to duel, and they're just like, nah, we're good. It's humiliating.
It is the definition of low-stakes drama inflated by insecure people, which transitions us perfectly into segment 1. Red flag or just desperate? Let's break it down. What is forgivable? What is absolutely not?
Let's start with Birkan setting boundaries with Laura's best friend. Red flag or desperate pride?
The hotel banishment is an unforgivable red flag of punitive control. But setting strict boundaries with a friend you actively hit a romantic history with, that is a highly reasonable, completely forgivable boundary.
I'll accept that nuance. But what about Rick keeping his ex on the hook while shopping for rings with Trisha?
Absolutely not forgivable. Prison. You cannot negotiate a new exclusive contract while soliciting bids from your previous employer. Emotional fraud.
Exactly. And Jovan listening to podcasts that justify cheating if he pays for groceries.
Unforgivable. It indicates a foundational value system that views women as property. A vow renewal ring does not change a toxic worldview.
Preach. Stig waiting until the taxi is outside to say he wants a green card for Houston.
Unforgivable. Deceptive withholding of material facts. Waiting until her bags are packed is entrapment.
Which brings us to segment 2. Who is getting played the most? Call it. Who is the biggest victim and who is doing the playing? We have Aviva, Sheena, or Trisha.
Aviva is getting played the most logistically and financially. Stig is setting her up to be a legal sponsor, uproot her life, and fund a delusional music career. The tangible damage to her life will be catastrophic for a decade.
I hear your logic, but I am arguing from the heart. Sheena is getting played the most emotionally. Aviva is choosing to ignore red flags for a wedding. Sheena genuinely loved Forrest and wanted a family on $100 a month. And she got played by a mother-in-law who orchestrated her heartbreak like a military general. She was destroyed emotionally.
Fair distinction. Logistical versus emotional victimhood. But we can agree on segment 3. Most delusional statement. You know there were many. Pick the worst.
The nominations are stacked. Elise claiming she literally almost died on a tourist waterfall excursion. Rick defending emotional cheating with "love isn't black and white," and Molly telling her disabled son he's relying on a magical miracle job.
I will logically dismantle Rick's statement as the peak of narcissistic delusion, reframing his betrayal as complex emotional depth that Trisha is too basic to understand. It's the ultimate lack of accountability.
I hate him. But my winner is Elise. I get so triggered by her dramatics. You got wet, you didn't almost die. People fight for their actual lives, and you have a meltdown over abseiling. Her main character syndrome is off the charts.
It's a close tie. Which leads to our final test. Segment 4. Would you stay or run? Put yourselves in their shoes. Are you staying to fight or booking a flight home? Be honest.
Okay, I'm going to be painfully, humiliatingly honest. If I were in Aviva's shoes, I might have stayed.
I am pausing the conversation. You are telling me a piece of jewelry is worth funding a fake dance hall career in Texas.
I know it's bad. Let me explain the spiral. If I had the romantic sunsets, the proposal, the ring on my finger, part of my delusional brain would justify Houston. I'd say, love conquers all. The sunk cost fallacy would take over.
You are brave for admitting that level of delusion. I'm booking a flight home immediately in every scenario. The second Jovan agrees that grocery money buys infidelity. Flight booked. The second Josh says, I wouldn't blame you if you walked away. Uber called. I don't negotiate my worth with men who view me as an accessory.
You are so cold, but you are right. We absolutely agree that Trisha running was the only acceptable move. She booked that emergency exit and didn't look back.
The only correct decision.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this chaotic journey.
Wrap-up time, babes. TLC chaos, heroic energy at the park, treasure delusion with my dirt ring, Pilates success even if I was mostly on the floor praying.
It's been a weekend.
Yeah.
But we need to ask you directly. Would you do a park cleanup, or are we doing too much?
And do you believe my ring is real? Validate my 1920s tragedy fantasy.
And babes, are we officially fitness people now? Let us know. And remember, rate, review, and subscribe. Send us your submissions.
Send this to your friend who ignores giant red flags in relationships. You know exactly who we mean. Thank you, Snark Squad. We love you.
Stay shady.
Stay iconic.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the Snark side.